Hello and welcome to Elecspo, and today we're talking about Newcastle United. The other week I did a video looking at how Sunderland would do if they had their best players back, so today I'm going to do the same with Newcastle. The Magpies have sold some great players in years gone by for various different reasons. Some big names didn't settle, while others didn't fancy playing in the Championship when Newcastle got relegated. But what would happen if some of these big names returned to St James's Park? Heading back to the northeast, we've got Gini Wijnaldum, James Milner, Chancellor Mbemba, Florian Thauvin, Ayoze Perez, Salomon Rondon, James Thauvin, Moussa Sissoko, Hatem Ben Arfa, Alexander Mitrovic, Demba Ba, Andros Townsend, Miguel Merino and Adam Armstrong. Each player's got a 5-year deal and a future transfer back to where they came from. Except for Ba and Townsend, they can go wherever they want. On top of that, I put £30 million extra in the bank to cover the additional wages, and they've also got Rafa Benitez back on the touchline. Can Benitez take this ultimate Newcastle side to a trophy? Let's find out. Right, so here we are at the start of the simulation, the 27th of July 2020. As you can see, Rafa Benitez is back as manager, and despite all these big players back at St James's Park, the media only thinks they'll come 12th. I mean, that's a lot better than they're doing in reality, but with the kind of players they've got, they probably won't be pushing the top half. Look at the projected lineup. You've only got Mbemba, Thauvin, Wijnaldum, Merino and Florian Thauvin featuring in the starting 11. But let's simulate a year into the future. Let's see how many of these players feature and just how they get on back at St James's Park. Right, here we are at the end of the first season of the simulation, and as you can see, Newcastle have made it into the top half. They've done better than the media expected. They thought they'd come 12th. Rafa Benitez has taken Newcastle into the top half. They came 9th with 55 points on the board. Only able to get into Europe, but I mean, from 8th downwards was kind of just a best of the rest. And Newcastle have came second in that many leagues, so well done to them. Nowhere near the relegation zone like they are in reality. Steve Bruce destined to take them down to the Championship. But with Rafa Benitez and the big stars back, they have came 9th in the top half of English football. That is pretty damn impressive. Let's check Newcastle out. James Milner's already been promoted to vice captain just behind Jamal Lascelles. Let's check the players out, let's see who's starred, who hasn't. So the best player at the club has been Gini Wijnaldum. Wijnaldum was great when he was at Newcastle first time around. The only issue was he was only decent when he played at St James's Park. But in this season he's got 10 goals and 5 assists to make him the best player at the club. Then behind him you've got Miguel Merino. Merino, another player who was outstanding whenever he played for Newcastle. The issue is he quickly picked up a back injury, and then by the time he was fit again, Newcastle had players doing really well in his position. He got a chance to go to Real Sociedad and he took it. Doing very well there. Third, you've got Florian Thauvin, 13 goals and 9 assists. I mean, that is a fantastic return from the French World Cup winner. From a man who was absolutely appalling at Newcastle. He spent more time playing with his hair than he did playing with the football. But back at the club, he's having a wonderful time. Ayoze Perez has done well, so has James Milner. But as we scroll down, there's been less and less stars from the returning players. Demba Ba hasn't featured at all. Hatem Ben Arfa barely featured. Adam Armstrong surprisingly barely featured, but he has got 4 goals. Mitrovic barely played at all. Andros Townsend loaned out immediately. Moussa Sissoko, more used as a substitute, hasn't really impressed. And the rest of the players have featured a fair bit. James Thauvin has been a regular starter. Perez has. Rondon out on loan. I forgot to cancel his loan deal on the editor, so he'll be back next summer, so that's one to look forward to. Chancellor Mbemba's played a lot. Not very well, but he's played a lot. Considering this is a man who stopped Cristiano Ronaldo the other week in the Champions League, he's had quite a disappointing season. So from their main starting 11, Thauvin is in there, Mbemba's in there, Milner's in there, Wijnaldum, Merino and Thauvin. And Perez up front ahead of Callum Wilson. Let's see how they got on in the cup competitions. Knocked out of the League Cup in the 4th round. And in the FA Cup, they were knocked out in the 3rd round. And to be honest, Newcastle have had a strong start this season. And then it was stop, start, picking up a win here, a couple of losses there, then a few wins. The picture of inconsistency, which is not what you would associate with a Rafa Benitez side. But they have came 9th in the first season back at St James's Park. They've got 5, so there's 4 to go. Let's go into year 2. Can they kick on from this 9th place finish? Right, here we are, year 2 of the simulation, and as you can see, it's been an absolute disaster for the Newcastle All-Stars. They have came 17th in the Premier League, no longer a top half team. They're lucky to still be a Premier League team. They got 33 points, which was 6 clear of West Ham, who went down. So Newcastle have survived, but only just. Not very good at all considering the star players that are at St James's Park. Let's check them out. There's been a change in the dugout. Rafa Benitez is gone for starters. Let's have a look. So Rafa Benitez actually resigned last summer. Where has he gone? He's got to be the Netherlands boss, which is strange. He's bin Newcastle off, and in his place came Pochetta, the Spaniard who nearly took Newcastle United down, and he's been sacked for his troubles. Pochetta and his star-studded squad nearly relegated. Gini Wijnaldum playing centre-back, not quite sure about that. Let's have a look who the best players have been. It's been Gini Wijnaldum yet again. Gini Wijnaldum, Florian Thauvin and Mikel Merino, the stars of the show once again. James Milner up there as well, playing a lot of football for a man who is quite close to being a pensioner. If you look further down, Perez only got 6 goals. Chancellor Mbemba improved despite playing less football. No Saint-Maximin. Saint-Maximin is probably one of the biggest losers from this team. All these star players have came back, meaning the talismanic Frenchman, talismanic, is that a word? The Frenchman who is a talisman can barely get in the team. 28 appearances off the bench. Same for Sissoko, back at St James's Park for him. Wasn't really liked, to be honest, but he spent most of his days coming off the bench. Adam Armstrong hasn't started a single game. Mitrovic only started once. Tavernier no longer in the team. And Hatem Ben Arfa done absolutely nothing. Andros Townsend loaned out again. They've binned off Demba Ba. And Salomon Rondon got 5 goals. So that's kind of okay at least. I'm going to assume there's been no joy in the cup competitions. FA Cup beaten in the quarters by Man City, better than last season. And in the League Cup also beaten in the quarterfinals. But what a rotten start of the season. Well, they won the first 4 out of 5 games, which was quite good. And then after that it was defeat after defeat after defeat. Absolutely appalling. They beat Burnley on the 11th of September, and then they didn't taste victory again in the Premier League until the 28th of December. It is no wonder they nearly went down. In fact, had West Ham not been so bad, Newcastle would have went down, because the last time they won a Premier League game was the 16th of March against Preston when they won 4-0. Goals from Rondon, Thauvin, Barkley and Saint-Maximin. Ross Barkley's just been signed for some reason. But Newcastle United's all-stars, after a bright start, have gone to absolute pot. Let's go into year 3. They need to bounce back from this near relegation scare. Something that some of these Newcastle players know far too well. Let's go into year 3, let's see what happens. Right, here we are at the end of season 3, and honestly I don't know what to say. This Newcastle side are boggling the mind. Top half in season 1 under Rafa Benitez. Season 2 they nearly went down under some Pochetta guy. Season 3 and they've came 7th and sealed a return to European football. They came 7th with 56 points to finish above Leicester, meaning they will be playing in the Europa Conference League next season. Their manager was Jess Thorpe, who was last season at Copenhagen, and he has had a remarkable first season in charge. Gini Wijnaldum the skipper now, James Milner still the vice. Let's see if there's been any joy in the cup competitions. Has that been the reason? No, it hasn't. I was going to say, is that the reason they've got in the Europa Conference League? But no, it's just from their 7th place finish. They were knocked out in the League Cup quarter-finals by Man City, FA Cup 5th round by Liverpool. In the league though, Newcastle have been wonderful. But how many of the players that have starred have actually been these returning figures? Yet again, Gini Wijnaldum, for the 3rd season in a row, is the best player in a black and white shirt. Behind him, Florian Thauvin. Then you've got to go down to Ayoze Perez there. 12 goals in 40 appearances. 10 times he came off the bench. But he's done fairly well, to his credit, as has Mikel Merino. I was going to say Moussa Sissoko's had a good season, but his average is okay, but he only made 6 appearances, all of which were off the bench. James Milner's been consistent yet again, despite his pensioner legs. And Mbemba's done alright. But the further down we go, these returning figures just aren't playing at all. Mitrovic played a little bit more football under the new manager, but been absolutely appalling really. So far, he's only managed 5 goals back at Newcastle. I mean, he wasn't very good for them to begin with. I'm not quite sure why I sent him back. But spell 2 is going appallingly. One man I'm surprised at how bad he's been is Adam Armstrong. Adam Armstrong's playing brilliantly in the Championship currently for Blackburn. And he always does well on Football Manager. You often see him scoring a lot of goals. So I thought sending him back to Newcastle, he'd get a chance to be the main man leading the line. In fact, he's been appalling. He has only started 1 Premier League game in 3 seasons. No, he has. He scored 3 goals. I was about to say he hasn't scored. I've done him a disservice. He scored 3 Premier League goals, which is more than he's ever managed so far in his career. Hatem Ben Arfa, that hasn't worked at all. I mean, he is 36 to be fair to him. played 9 times in season 1, rest hasn't featured at all. James Thauvin can't get on the pitch either. He's been a substitute, but can't get on the pitch. This Newcastle Ultimate 11 isn't quite as good as I thought it would be. They've came 7th, but really I don't think that's largely down to the returning players. Some of them have starred. Florian Thauvin with 11 goals. Him and Ayoze Perez have been the top scorers. Goals seem to be an issue for Newcastle. But they have somehow came 7th in the Premier League and are going to be playing in the Europa Conference League next season, which will be season 4 of this Ultimate Newcastle side. Let's check them out and see how they get on in Europe. Right, here we are at the end of season 4. Newcastle United back into the bottom half. They have came 13th. But if you notice the letters EC next to the Magpies, that would imply to me that they've only gone and won a bloody cup. Newcastle United's cup hoodoo seems to be over. Jesse Marsch is now the manager, the American. Gini Wijnaldum still is skipper. James Milner is still there. But let's have a look at the schedule. Let's see if there has been silverware coming to St James's Park. They've only gone and won the Europa Conference League. It's the one we all want to win. They beat Athletic Bilbao in the final. That's quite a difficult opponent in the final. They won 1-0. A goal from Mikel Merino, one of the returning stars, has been pivotal in a defining moment in Newcastle's history. Finally, they have banished their cup nightmares. Newcastle's record in cups has been appalling. The last time they won a trophy was 1969 when they won the Fairs Cup, which was effectively was the UEFA Cup back in the day. They've had to wait until 2024, but they have done it. They have won the Europa Conference League, beating Athletic Bilbao in the final. Along the way, I mean, the semi-final win was probably arguably even bigger. They beat RB Leipzig, goals from Thauvin and Merino and someone who doesn't matter because he's not one of the returning players. Abdallah Simmer, well done him. But Newcastle United are trophy winners. Let's have a look at the team from the final. Wijnaldum featured, Merino featured, Thauvin did well, Perez was there, didn't do well. And that's it out of the returning stars. So you've got 4 players who played a part in history for Newcastle United. Let's check the squad out. Mikel Merino, the best player at the club. That is not a surprise. I mean, Gini Wijnaldum, great player, but deep in his 30s now, he's 33. Whilst Mikel Merino coming into his prime at 27, 40 caps for Spain and a star for Newcastle United. Elsewhere, Thauvin's done well, as has Perez. Genuinely doesn't seem like the rest have played. Milner's more of a substitute now, but I mean, let's look at how old he is. 38 years old. Absolutely past it. Sissoko not playing, Tavernier 1 sub appearance, Mitrovic not playing, Adam Armstrong got a start, and Mbembe in and out the team, not playing well. Pretty appalling. I mean, Hatem Ben Arfa hasn't even got a work permit. That's how little Newcastle want to play him. They won't even give him a work permit. Obviously, Demba Ba, Aldros Townsend have gone. What's happened? I'm going to assume Rondon's retired because I can't see him. And he can't have left, surely. Salomon Rondon. Oh, he has left. He's gone to Marseille. Obviously, I didn't give Rondon a lengthy contract, clearly. But I mean, it didn't matter. He was pretty appalling back in Newcastle, even as good as he was under Rafa Benitez. But Newcastle United, whilst they've won a trophy, I was going to say it's not really down to the returning stars, but the core of Wijnaldum, Merino and Thauvin have been central to the success of Newcastle United. So, in year 4, I'm saying this team's kind of been successful, somewhat. But they've got 1 year left. Can they make it another trophy? Can they do it? Surely Wijnaldum can get his hands on another trophy. Let's go into year 5. Let's see how Newcastle get on in the Europa League. Right, here we are, the 5th and final season of the simulation, and the inconsistent Newcastle United train just keeps on rumbling as they once again narrowly avoid relegation to the Championship. They have came 16th in the Premier League, 6 points clear of the bottom 3. No trophies to shout about. Javier Aguirre is now the manager, Gini Wijnaldum still the skipper. Competitions, don't think there's been any joy elsewhere. No Europa League joy, no FA Cup joy, no League Cup joy. How did Newcastle United get on in the competitions? League Cup, they were beaten in the quarterfinals by Man City. FA Cup, beaten in the 5th round by Derby on penalties, that's disappointing. Europa League, didn't make it through the group that included Anderlecht, Fenerbahce and Sevilla, which is, to be fair, quite a difficult group for the Europa League. Dropped into the Europa Conference League, the trophy in which they were the holders, and they were beaten by Napoli in the second knockout round. So Newcastle's European dreams came to an end in March, and then it was just about Premier League survival, which they managed, but only just. Let's check the players out in their final year. Have the returning players been the stars? Yes. Florian Thauvin, 14 goals, 9 assists, an average rating of 7.4. Mikel Merino not far behind with an average rating of 7.31. Gini Wijnaldum not as good in the final year, but those are the only 3 players who've consistently been in the Newcastle starting 11 from the players who were brought back to Newcastle. Ayoze, Perez more been a substitute. Adam Armstrong barely featured. Chancellor Mbemba cannot get a kick. He's just sat at the training ground telling people about the time he beat Cristiano Ronaldo. James Milner's only had 2 substitute appearances. Mitrovic 1. And that is literally it. So for the return of Newcastle United players, Florian Thauvin, Mikel Merino, Gini Wijnaldum, they have been stars. Gini Wijnaldum, a favoured personnel at the club. Mikel Merino, a club icon. Something he obviously never achieved in his year at Newcastle United. But for the rest of the returning players, it's quite clear that Newcastle didn't need them. So I said at the start I was sending the best players back to Newcastle United, but it's turned out to be a little bit of a shambles. Rafa Benitez left after season 1. Most of the players have hardly featured, and only 3, well 4 if we count James Milner. No, only 3 have really impressed. Thauvin, Mikel Merino and Gini Wijnaldum. And that's not really a surprise. One's a World Cup winner, one's won the Premier League and the Champions League, and another is a Spanish international. So there we have it. Newcastle United, don't worry about re-signing your best players, because you'll only end up winning the Europa Conference League and be stuck in relegation battles. But we will leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. As always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Elecspo. And until next time, we will see you around.